The dream of the last elder laughter drifted across the great current. It was quiet, unhurried, the kind of laughter that belonged to someone who had forgotten there was ever a reason to hurry. It lingered between the stars before dissolving into the endless calm. "You're doing it again." The voice carried no annoyance, only familiarity. "I know. You've been watching that galaxy since I arrived." "Have I?" "You've counted its spiral arms twice." A pause. "I was hoping it would grow another." A second laugh answered him. "It won't." "I know." Silence settled comfortably between them. The figure smiled. "I still enjoy watching it try." The great current carried them gently onward. Neither of them bothered to unfold their wings. There was no need. The current had known them for longer than memory itself. It never failed to carry those who understood its rhythm. Below them, a spiral galaxy turned with patient grace. It looked different, not because it had changed, because he had. He remembered when one of its outer arms had first begun to bloom with stars. He had returned centuries later to see how the young civilizations had grown. They had already begun asking the oldest questions. Where did we come from? What lies beyond the night? He smiled. Creation was wonderfully predictable. Every young civilization believed it was the first to ask. His companion drifted beside him, hands folded behind his back. "Still thinking?" "When have I not been?" "Fair point." Another silence. Comfortable, earned, the kind that only existed between souls who no longer needed to fill every moment with words. "I was thinking of visiting the glass expanse." His companion glanced sideways. "You've been saying that for, what, 10,000 years? Has it been that long?" "Closer to 12. I assume you'll actually go this time." "I might." "You won't." A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "You know me too well. I've had enough time to learn." The great current shifted beneath them, carrying both toward the endless sea of stars without either of them needing to choose a direction. There was never urgency, not here. There was always another tomorrow, always another century, always another galaxy waiting to be explored. He drew a slow breath. The universe felt complete, whole, alive. His eyes wandered toward the distant horizon. Something made him pause. A feeling, so faint it almost escaped notice. He frowned. That was strange. Nothing disturbed the great current. Nothing. He looked again toward the familiar constellation beyond the distant veil of light. His smile faded. He counted the stars. Once, twice, a third time. There were 8. His companion looked up. "What?" "Those stars." The other figure followed his gaze. Neither of them spoke, because neither could decide which possibility was more impossible. That one of the stars had vanished, or that both of them suddenly doubted whether it had ever been there at all. Neither of them moved. The missing star refused to return. Vathel looked away from the constellation. He had spent longer studying the heavens than most worlds had existed. Stars were born, stars died, entire galaxies collided, separated, and blossomed anew. This belonged to none of those things. His companion spoke first. "Did you feel it?" Vathel nodded. "I did." What was it? The question lingered. For the first time in longer than he cared to remember, he did not have an answer. He searched the great current instead. It flowed, steady, ancient. Yet beneath its familiar rhythm, another pulse rippled outward. Small, wrong, not hostile, not peaceful, simply foreign. Vathul closed his eyes. The current had carried him across distances no younger race could imagine. He had crossed the void between galaxies until they blurred together like islands in an endless sea. He had circled black stars whose gravity bent time into impossible shapes. He had walked the crystalline expanse, beneath forests older than civilizations. He had stood before the barrier rivers and chosen, wisely, not to cross. Never, not once, had he felt this. His eyes opened. "It isn't from here." His companion said nothing. He didn't need to. He understood exactly what those words meant. Not from this galaxy, not from this region of the current, not from here. A silence settled between them. It felt heavier now, as though the universe itself had stopped listening. Vathul looked once more toward the place where the 8th star should have been. He wanted another explanation, any explanation. He found none. His companion inhaled slowly. "We investigate?" Vathul almost answered. Almost. Instead, another thought surfaced. Older than memory. A memory so ancient it had become instinct. He turned. "No." His companion's brow furrowed. "No? We do not walk towards something we cannot name." The words tasted unfamiliar. He had never needed to speak them before. The universe had always made sense, perhaps not immediately, but eventually. This did not. Vaithuen lifted his gaze, beyond the stars, beyond the current, beyond everything either of them could see. For the first time in ages, he felt small. The realization settled quietly inside him. Then he made the only decision that felt worthy of the moment. Call the hearing. His companion stared at him, not in disbelief, in understanding. The smile vanished from his face. Without another word, he placed one hand against his own chest. The great current answered. It did not roar, it did not flash, it listened. A single note spread outward, soft, almost imperceptible. Yet Vaithul felt it racing across creation faster than thought itself, toward every elder, toward every guardian, toward every ancient soul still walking the higher skies. The hearing had been called. For the first time, the universe waited. The other elder didn't answer. He simply watched him. The great current flowed quietly beneath their feet. For the first time since they had met, neither of them seemed to know what to say. Finally, the other one smiled, a tired smile. "I was hoping I'd never hear those words." So was I. Another silence settled between them. This one felt different, heavier. The stars continued turning overhead as though nothing had changed. Perhaps they hadn't noticed yet. Perhaps they never would. "Are you certain?" "No." The answer came too quickly. He frowned. "I've never been less certain of anything." His companion lowered his eyes. That, more than the missing star, unsettled him. Certainty had always belonged to his oldest friend. Not arrogance, not pride, simply certainty. If he said the current would carry them safely, it did. If he said a black star could be approached, it could. If he said the barrier rivers should remain uncrossed, no elder questioned him. Not because he was greater, because experience had earned trust. Now, for the first time, he had admitted uncertainty. The universe suddenly felt colder. The other elder exhaled slowly. Very well. He closed his eyes. The great current gathered around him, not because he commanded it, because it listened. When he finally spoke again, his voice was almost lost beneath the movement of the stars. Vaithul. The name lingered gently between them. not as a title, not as a summons, as the name of an old friend. If we do this, he opened his eyes, every elder will come. I know. Some are farther away than galaxies. I know. Some have not answered a hearing since before the first rivers awakened. I know. And if they hear your call, his voice faltered, they'll believe the impossible has happened. Vaithul looked once more toward the place where the 8th star should have been. I believe the impossible has happened. Nothing more needed saying. The other elder bowed his head. The great current answered before either of them moved. It didn't roar. It didn't blaze across the heavens. It simply changed. Vaithul felt it long before he saw it. The rhythm of creation shifted. A single note left the current, then another, then countless more. They spread outward in every direction at once, not through space, through existence itself, across forests whose roots reached beyond dimensions, across oceans larger than galaxies, across plains of crystal where phoenixes rested between journeys, across observatories built upon the shoulders of black stars, across kingdoms so ancient that entire universes had been born since their foundations were laid. Everywhere, someone stopped. A conversation ended halfway through a sentence. A child looked up. A dragon paused in flight. A phoenix folded its wings. An old guardian opened eyes that had remained closed for ages beyond counting. No one asked what the message meant. No one needed to. They recognized the feeling before they recognized the call, the hearing. For one impossible moment, the higher universe inhaled as one. And then, everything began moving toward the crystalline expanse. Not millions, not billions, not numbers that minds were meant to count. Life, ancient, wise, magnificent. From every horizon that existed, the universe itself seemed to turn toward a single destination. And somewhere beyond all of it, something else had already begun to move. The crystalline expanse reached him before sight did. Cold first. Not the cold of distance, not emptiness. Recognition. It slid beneath Vaithul's scales and settled along the old hollows of his bones, where the light of 7 dwarf stars had lived too many times to count. His lungs opened around it. His wings loosened before he told them to. Somewhere deep in his chest, something ancient answered the place by habit. Then the light came. It poured through him. 7 colors, 7 pressures, 7 voices moving through crystal and current and body at once. Gold warmed the ridges of his spine. Blue tightened around the roots of his wings. Violet threw his claws like remembered music. Red settled in his throat and waited there, heavy and patient. He should have smiled. He always had. The expanse did that to him. It pulled memory from places too old for language. It reminded him of arrivals before war, before grief, before stars vanished from constellations that had never once lied to him. But beneath the 7-fold light, something colder threaded itself between his ribs. Small, thin, wrong. His companion drifted beside him and exhaled softly. "You still stop." Vaithul did not answer at once. The light struck the black of his scales and broke across them in rivers of impossible color. Each fracture of brilliance carried the scent of old gatherings, old arguments, old laughter echoing between beings who believed they had time enough for anything. He felt all of it, and under it, that cold thread tightened. "I always will," he said. His companion's amusement warmed the current between them. "You have been here more times than I can remember." Vaithul let the words pass through them. more times than his companion could remember, more times than most worlds had turned around their first suns, more times than some galaxies had survived their own hunger. The crystalline expanse had never become familiar. That was its cruelty. That was its gift. "It reminds me," Weifel said. "Of what?" The question should have been harmless. It landed inside him like pressure in deep stone. Of the first hearing he had attended, when he was young enough to believe wisdom and certainty were the same thing. Of phoenixes nesting along the upper crystal shelves, their feathers igniting small dawns in the shadows beneath the dwarf stars. Of elders whose voices still lived in the angles of the palace, though their bodies had long ago returned to the current. Of standing here once and thinking nothing could ever reach a place this alive. Weifel did not say any of that. His throat held the red light too tightly. "Enough," he said. His companion looked at him then, only briefly, too briefly to understand. Ahead, the expanse turned beneath the 7 dwarf stars. Calling it a world had always felt small. Its crystal surface curved beyond distances younger minds would call impossible, catching every ray cast upon it and refusing to return it unchanged. Light entered the living crystal and became rivers, roots, towers, storms, bridges. Rainbows rose from below the surface in shapes that had no right to hold themselves together, twisting upward for centuries before falling back as mist that shone with memory. Weifel felt each color pass through his body. The expanse knew him. The old paths beneath the surface still recognized the weight of him in the great current. Crystal harmonics pressed gently against his scales, testing, greeting, remembering. Then one of them faltered. Barely, a note too thin to name. His left wing opened a fraction. His companion noticed this time. Wind? No, there was no wind here, not unless the expanse wished it. The first city rose from the upper crystal plane. It did not appear so much as insist on itself. Districts larger than worlds climbed through light. Towers pierced the layered glow of the dwarf stars and returned wearing different colors than they had entered. Vast terraces hung over crystal abysses where entire civilizations could have lived unnoticed. Roads of transparent stone bent around impossible geometry and still arrived exactly where they meant to. Weifel had walked those roads. He knew the third terrace beneath the amber star carried warmth through the soles of the feet. He knew the Western archives sang faintly when phoenixes passed overhead. He knew where the old arguments had been held, where oaths had been broken, where forgiveness had once taken 3,000 years to speak aloud. The city pulled at him. So did the cold. His claws flexed. Below the first city, the crystal brightened in welcome. Above it, the palace waited. No structure, creation had ever made him feel young the way that palace did. Its foundations sank beyond sight, deeper than the visible world, into crystal older than the first-named stars. Its towers reached into the great current itself, vanishing and reappearing where distance forgot how to remain faithful. 7 dwarf stars painted it at once, and still the palace chose its own color beneath them. His companion smiled. It has not changed. Weifel felt the words move across his skin. Not changed, not changed, not changed. The palace shimmered. One facet near the central crown held violet light a heartbeat longer than it should have. Weifel stopped. The current moved around him. His companion drifted half a pace ahead before realizing he had not followed. What is it? Weifel stared at the facet. The violet faded. Too late. Only a breath. Only less than a breath. No younger eye would have seen it. No younger mind would have cared. But Weifel knew the palace. He knew how light moved through it. He knew how it answered the stars. That facet had hesitated. Something in the living crystal had listened before it shone. His chest tightened. The cold thread became a line. Then the arrivals began. At first, they came as sparks along the outer reaches of the great current. Then streams. Then storms. Dragons emerged from distances that had forgotten the shape of maps. Phoenixes burned into being along the ley paths, each arrival leaving a wound of brilliance behind. Ancient guardians, star-born minds, deep world things whose names were older than speech, luminous nations carried within living vessels, beings of flame, crystal, shadow, song, all of them turning toward the expanse. The sky did not fill, it bent. The great current strained beneath them. Vithal felt the pressure before the light changed. Trillions of presences entered the same vast region of existence, and the current groaned without sound. Ley lines pulled taut across the universe, paths meant to carry ages. Pilgrimages, solitary migrations, and rare gatherings now bore the weight of everything at once. The expanse brightened to receive them, still beautiful, still alive, still beloved. And the cold beneath Vithal's scales grew steady, not sharp, certain. A tide drawn too far from shore, a mountain holding its breath before fracture. His private dread slipped from him before he could contain it. It entered the ley lines. Somewhere beyond the expanse, a young dragon in flight shivered and forgot why. A phoenix turned its head mid-arrival, flame dimming along one wing. Across the universe, creatures with no knowledge of Vithal paused inside their own lives as something vast passed through the deep water of existence. Then it was gone, but the current remembered. His companion looked at him now without amusement. Vithal. The name reached him from very far away. He could not look away from the palace, not from the crown, not from the facet, not from the place where Violet had lingered too long. Another arrival crossed the upper path. A dragon. No, it wore the shape of one. It moved with the others, but not within the current. Around it, light bent inward, not reflected, taken. Vithal's lungs stopped. The 7 dwarf stars continued to burn. The first city continued to shine. The palace still stood, impossibly beautiful beneath its impossible sky. And inside all that radiance, Vithal finally understood the one thing that did not belong.